Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Survivor 42 premiere review. We are here. There are 2 hours of content to talk about. There is controversy. There are twists. There are some twists we've already seen before that Probst doesn't care.
No, he really doesn't. Even at the beginning when he's like, "Hi, welcome. We did these back to back, but we changed it up." I'm like, "Okay, but you didn't change up a lot. We still have Shot in the Dark, Wheel Island, the Sweater Savvy. They're all the same from last season."
Yeah,
I see you, Jeff. I see
yeah.
you.
We know what you're putting down here, Jeff, and it shouldn't take a lot of us yelling at you on Twitter for you to know that some of these twists are not the greatest move. I mean, I admire your ambition. I
Yeah.
respect your ability to try to push the envelope here, but I think every now and then Probst and Survivor, they need reminders that the show is about the strategy, the characters, the
Yes.
environment, the story.
Absolutely.
Well, we have so much to get to here. This is not even a buff for the right season, so I'm just taking that off. But anyway, before we go further, hit that subscribe button. We will be here breaking down Survivor 42, talking about who we like, who we
Yeah.
don't like,
Yeah.
some of the way that this game is going down. So be sure you don't miss any of that.
And follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV.
Okay, now there's so many different things to talk about here, but I kind of feel like the top story that's coming out of this
Mm-hmm.
episode is going to be the Jackson situation. And
Mm-hmm.
I say this mostly because I can't recall for the life of me, and I'm not just talking about Survivor, I'm talking about all of reality TV in general. I can't ever remember there being another show where they brought somebody on the show, and this somebody, per what we saw in the conversation with Jeff,
Mm-hmm.
he disclosed something related to his medical condition a couple of days before the season.
I think it was like 1 day before the season. It was so soon.
It was really, really late in the process. And then the show decides, okay, we're still going to let you come on the show while we sort of think about a lot of this. And we're going to try to figure out what we're going to do behind the scenes. And then eventually they bring out Probst. And as they said on the show, if Probst is showing up to your camp, it's never good news. And they decide to pull Jackson off. But this is just the weirdest exit I think I have ever seen from Survivor. And, we've been watching this show for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and I know that this was filmed during the health crisis, so maybe they didn't have an alternate when
I
this
don't
all
know.
sort of
Yeah.
came out last minute. Because I'm a bit surprised that production, when they found this out so close, that they didn't just pull Jackson and put in somebody else. If they really truly thought that it might not be safe for him, or they might not be able to monitor things well enough to make sure that he's going to be okay,
Yeah.
then why wouldn't they pull him beforehand and bring in an alternate? And I'm just guessing they didn't have one.
Yeah, I know. As bizarre as that seems, I think that's it. I think they must not have had one. And I also okay, we don't have all the answers here. I'm just gonna make that very, very clear. This is just my opinion I'm about to say. But I feel like Jackson knew there was a pretty strong possibility this could happen. He didn't seem shocked at all when Probst was
Yeah.
talking to him about it. I mean, Marianne seemed way more shocked than he was to be finding out that he
Yeah.
was going to be going. And I almost sort of wonder, was this a situation where Jackson kind of knew from the start, okay, there's a chance that this is going to happen. They may pull me from the game early on, but they're allowing me to come out here, have an opportunity, get to meet some of my fellow castmates, share a little bit about who I am. And then at the end of the day, because we don't have an alternate, I'm going to have to end up probably leaving anyway.
Here's the thing. Jeff basically said, "You were a lock. We
Yeah.
wanted you so bad." Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bring him back then for another season.
Yeah.
If he's a lock, bring him back. And I know that through the casting, I've heard over time that
Yeah.
there's stuff like, "Oh, this person is perfect, but not with this cast. Maybe we'll put them on another cast." And we've heard stories like that before. But like, if Jackson is just a lock,
Yeah.
Survivor is not going to be done probably for a long while. Put him on another season
Yeah.
if that's the case. But again, I don't think they had an alternate. I think it was just kind of like, this is where we are. We kind of just got to move forward.
Heck, I would even go so far if Jackson is in fact a lock, as you said, and Probe said on the episode, just save him for another season and find a way to retool your show at the last second. So you just start with 17 people and have it happen that way. I correct me if I'm wrong in the comments because it's been a long time, people, but I think there was a season, I think it's Survivor Fiji, where there was like somebody who dropped out at the very last second. They didn't really replace them. So like there are ways to make this stuff happen.
This was a strange episode for medical reasons all kind of around. That it's
Yeah.
just like if they knew that there might be a potential risk for Jackson, pull him before he's going on the show. His safety, number one.
Yeah.
Then we had the beginning challenge with Daniel, who dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's still out oaring in the boat and all this other stuff that's going on. He's standing there with his arm hanging out, and no medical came out for him the entire time until the very end. And it's just kind of like, where was the medical? That was the whole thing. When he came back and I saw his arm like hanging.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are they? Why aren't they calling anybody? It was quite shocking.
Does the player have to request it? Like, in which case it sounds kind of weird because then you're just allowing somebody to effectively just like fall over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jackson didn't request anybody to come pull him off the show.
That's true. That is true.
So overall, the medical team, you guys could have stepped in a little bit earlier there. This poor guy's arm is like hanging off him.
Yeah, I gotta say though, in terms of like reality television moments, thank you, Daniel, for giving me severe Beauty and the Geek broken clavicle flashbacks. Though I will say this, this is the difference between me and Daniel. When Daniel fell down, Daniel got back up. I stayed there like a dead fish, and then they just like came out and then just like attended to me and hauled me away.
Yours was broken.
Okay, it was true. It could have been bad. They popped it back in. I mean, good on you, Survivor Doctor, in that particular moment. Though, Daniel, you are a very brave person. I think I would have probably actually, no, I can't say this. I probably would have stayed because you're on reality TV and you get so like drunk on the idea of, oh, I'm out there. I was about to be like, I would have left, but I stayed on Beauty and the Geek after I broke my clavicle. So,
I probably would have left. I mean, I'm really soft. No, Daniel was really tough. He took it like a champ. I really like that about him.
So yeah, this is an episode that I think are defined by these two big events where, Daniel shows us that he's really tough. And, I think we both found Jackson to be a compelling, interesting person. And it would have been great to see him on a different season with this sort of all just cleared up and it was easy for everybody to move forward. But the real thing here is poor Zach. Like, Zach is not even going to be remembered from this episode, I don't think, because of all of this other stuff.
Here's the thing. Okay, so they brought back the shot in the dark, which is something that Matt and I have said multiple times last season that we are not a fan of. Yeah. But in this case, I understand why Zach played it. At first, I was kind of like, maybe they were going to go after Tori. Maybe your vote really could have swayed it one way or another. But I mean, it was just Zach. Like, he was done. He took his shot in the dark. He did the best that he could. Yeah, it sucks when you see someone that's so excited to be on the show and big fan for a long time go out first. It's just, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just so sucks.
Okay, so in terms of like physical relatability, I go with, my guy Daniel here with his, major injury in the middle of a challenge. But in terms of like social relatability, I feel like we have found my playing Survivor alter ego in Zach, who is just like terrible in the challenge. He just like died halfway through and just really didn't do anything after that. He was so unbelievably awkward, even like that first time with Jeff. And I know if I was on Survivor, I would have said something really ridiculous and cryptic to Jeff too, being like, well, I guess we will find out how it's going. And then Probst just like called him out on it, and then Zach didn't know what to do with himself.
No, he did remind me of you quite a bit.
See, Zach, you were too good for this world. I'm going to miss you greatly. I was so excited to root for you. You were a part. I was about to go on here and talk all about this weird grouping that we had with, him, and then we had Swati and Tori, and they were all being like the young hip, well, I guess not hip people. I was going to call them the Dork Alliance because they were all very, very dorky.
Yep.
But I guess the Dork Alliance is already no more.
All right. Well, since you brought it up of people that you were kind of rooting for,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about early winner predictions because
Okay.
after watching this, I've got mine.
Okay.
But it's real early, so, I'll probably take an L.
Okay.
I haven't been right yet.
Well, there's a lot of people. This is very hard to be right.
Okay, so when everyone ended up going over to Boat Island, we saw
Yes.
Jenny over there with Drea and Marianne, who
Yeah.
both I like quite a lot. But Jenny
Yeah.
read them so well, and to a point that she was kind of like, I don't really know either of these women very well and what choice they're going to make, to give up their vote or protect their vote kind of thing. But I know them well enough that I think that they're both going to give up their votes for this. And she was exactly right. She read them so well that I was kind of like, if she continues to be able to read people this well with this little amount of information, she could really do well. And she also was, the person that helped win the challenge with the puzzle. She's smart. She can read people. If she can just align with the right people, she's going to go far.
You really surprised me there. When you started to talk about Boat Island, I thought you were going to go like full Drea in that moment.
Listen, I love her and I can't not love her. She lives in Canada,
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're Canadian.
Yeah.
But she just has so many advantages that I just feel like once people find out about them, they're just going to flush her right out.
I think you're probably right. And I love Drea too. She's got the Canadian connection with you. She's got the half blindness with me. I mean,
she's both of us. She's our player.
She's our player, given that I just said that Zach was kind of my player, I'm sorry, Drea, that you're probably going to be voted out next, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Now, I'm going to tell you the player I am really impressed with actually comes from the same tribe as Jenny, who did as you put it, that's done such a really good job.
Yeah, she did.
I really like firefighter Mike, and this kind of surprised me because usually when it's like those big kind of like burly, hulking guys, they're usually just like obnoxious, like that other dude, Jonathan, I think was his name, that he looked like Sawyer from Lost if Sawyer had like too many protein shakes.
But I'm giggling over here because I knew you were going to like him because he is exactly like your best friend except taller.
Okay, this is true. Mike is basically my friend Jason if my friend Jason was also a firefighter and if my friend Jason also borrowed a little bit of Tony's accent. And ultimately, but I think the thing I like about Mike is kind of the same reasons I really like my friend Jason is that he's very sociable, but I think he also did a really good job of just sort of seeing and respecting people for who they are. And he was very supportive of Daniel, even after Daniel like fell on his face and had to get his shoulder popped in and like all of that sort of stuff. And I think usually you look at a guy like that and think, okay, he's going to bark orders. He's going to yell at people. He's basically going to be, what Roxroy was for that one segment over on like the Ica Blue Tribe where they're playing the military music in the background. But he just seemed like a sweetheart. And, he's one of the oldest players out there. And we've seen firefighters do well on this show before. So, Mike, I believe in you. You're going to do this.
All right, Mike and Jenny, that's where we're landing on this.
Okay, so now we get to talk about our favorite part of the premiere, and that is obviously all of the twists. Okay.
Oh my goodness, Matt.
Okay, we'll start with the one twist that's kind of sort of new that they didn't do exactly last season. It is the Advantage Amulet, which, by the way, could you guys not come up with a cooler name than Advantage Amulet? Like, you guys at least came up with, like, Medallion of Power in one of these seasons. That's even cooler than Advantage Amulet.
Yeah, so this works kind of a bit like the Idol is working. Again, it's the same thing where they're going to have, everybody has to say something really weird about potatoes and skin or whatever, and then they all get to have these idols.
it's so the rules of this make it so weird and hard to figure out how it will work because it's like, all right, in order for these three people who decided to go forward and do this, and those are Lindsay, Hi, and Drea, they have to all be apparently together, and
Mm-hmm.
so they can't really do anything with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, well, if all three of you decide to play it in unison, it becomes an extra vote. If two of you decide to do it, it's a steal a vote. If one of you decides to do it, that's an immunity idol. But the twist here is you got to get rid of these other people in order for it to rise in power. I will say this, and that lightning may strike me. I kind of thought a part of this was cool. So yeah, like this is a twist that could have some sort of fascinating wrinkles depending on how many people are left. What it does it turn into? Do they end up targeting each other in order
Yeah.
to get it to a different sort of stage in its power, I guess you could say, or a super advantage amulet? It's a really, like everything else Survivor does, like there's like a couple of like interesting wrinkles to it, but it's just like surrounded in like a maze with like super glue on certain parts that you can't pull. It's just way too complicated.
It's complicated, but at the same time, I do like that there's this sort of cutthroat energy around it where with the idol, it's kind of like, oh, we all come together and superpowers, and now it's activated.
Yeah.
Where here with the amulet, people can decide, hey, we can all work together, and then we all know that we all have an extra vote, so we can all maybe do something together with that power, or have somebody be like, I'm going to start sniping people off because I want it to turn into an idol, and that's what I'm going to do instead.
My favorite part of this twist just so happens to be here is the bucket of mud and then the blood that you guys can put. I would have gone full carry, just like pour all of the blood like right over my head.
To explain it, because this is the part of it that I was kind of like,
Yeah.
okay. So he comes back, he's got blood all over, so it's like, oh my god, are you bleeding?
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Okay, so later it's like, well, where did you get cut? Like nobody's asking that later. It's just like, where was the concern was there to be like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, and nothing later to kind of be like, why didn't medical come in? There's blood all down his chest. Like that seems pretty serious. No, where was it coming from? Magic?
The funniest thing about this, and you saying this just gave me this thought of like, this is gonna have so many unintended consequences in the game moving forward, where somebody is just gonna like go off and be doing something serious and they get muddy or whatever. Someone's totally gonna be like, "Did you just put all that mud on you because you got an advantage?" Like that part of this, I don't know. There's at least some potential here. It's at least there's not a password, right? Like that is the thing we can all agree on, is that there's not a password.
No, but there is still going to be these secret phrases that is obviously going to be a thing that people kind of also question, like the you're bleeding from nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are sort of going on here, and I think there's a lot of people who really seem to be in this mode of, okay, I gotta be the star of the show. I gotta be the one that controls the twist, or I gotta have the twist right away. And this is like, I'm gonna be honest here, Tori is gonna be going next. Like, I am pretty confident in all of this because it's like, first, she goes and looks for an idol, like, immediately, and then she gets, like, for whatever reason, offended that she gets, like, called out for it.
It's always amazing to me that everybody gets so mad at people going to look for an idol. I feel like this would be my biggest downfall of why I would never be on this show. I'd be like, I will catch you guys later. I'm going to look for an idol just so you guys all know
Yeah.
you should also be looking by. I just the hiddenness about it of just looking for it. You can come back and lie and be like, I didn't find any. All I found is some taro root. Okay, cool. But like, just why not? Everybody knows you're doing it anyway. So to come back and be like, me? I would never. I was looking for taro root. I don't have it. It's just kind of like, oh Lord.
Yeah, this is just a general rule, I feel like, in general, and even in life, is that, like, if you've all come back from somewhere and one person is like, hold on, guys, before we go and do anything else, I have something I would like to say here. You know those people who think I might have an idol? Well, guess what? I don't have an idol. You know what my response is going to be like? Prove it. if you're gonna come out here and say this right now, dump out your bag, show me any potential spots you may have hidden it. Like, just don't say anything at that point, because otherwise I'm just gonna be really suspicious of you.
Yeah, I feel the minute, and we know she doesn't have an idol, but the minute that she comes in and is like, hey guys, I just want everyone to know, like, don't vote me out because I don't actually have an idol, immediately I'd be like, okay, so she has an idol. Cool, let's deal with that.
Yeah, I just feel like overall, this episode, like, there are some interesting cast members. There are people I definitely would like to get a little bit more of. I think Roxroy is interesting and kind of like this. I'm going to yell at a lot of people, but at the same time, I'm not going to do barely anything in the challenge, apparently, and nobody's going to notice. Like, I
That would
appreciate it.
be me. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't yell at anyone, but I'd probably be the old lady, crotchety lady that's just like, "Meh, these kids, they're out there singing while working. How dare they?" It's just like, okay.
He really did get turned up by that, didn't
I
he?
know. It's like they're not doing anything. They're just singing while they're doing it. It's okay to have some joy.
Yeah, it's Roxford does not want you guys singing what apparently was like the Survivor theme song. I wonder if they were like, what non-copywritten songs
Right?
can we do out here that Survivor won't get mad at us for doing? But no, there are interesting people. We haven't gotten to see, I don't think, enough of like Taku, the Orange Tribe, or Body, the Green Tribe yet. So there will be time for all of that. But yeah, I think a lot of people coming out of this, we're going to be talking about Jackson. We're going to be talking about all the weird medical stuff. That just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it was a lot of the episode for me as well. It's hard for it not to be.
Well, let's just all kind of just put our seatbelts on. Hopefully we'll have a bumpy, crazy rest of the season. And of course, we want you guys to subscribe so you don't miss any other updates coming up. Follow us on Instagram at Matt and Jess TV, and we will see you here next time.